Welcome everybody to the Ferrari HP Esports Series. We are back for round 3 at Emilia-Romagna, and we are at the circuit of Imola for the European region and all its action. The big question is though, will we see, well, maybe a second Triple Crown? We thought we had a second one already, but it turns out after some stewarding decisions, it was ripped away, unfortunately, by our man Cody Death, who looked to take 3 from 3. Unfortunately, he only took the opening one. The stewards later deciding that there were a couple of incidents that he had to be penalised for. George Morgan here in the commentary box alongside me, as always, the fantastic Nina Jade Paul. Nina, welcome back.
Oh, what a lovely intro, George. You shouldn't have. Yes, what a fantastic evening we're set for now. We had a great showing from the APAC region earlier today. Cody Death was a bit of a naughty boy, got a few penalties, so it's all still open in that region. I'm just very excited for this evening, seeing who emerges as victor.
Well, I tell you what, it is exciting, isn't it? Because we may have had some thrilling races earlier on when we were looking back at the Asian and Pacific region, but now stepping into European action. A bigger grid here now this time, 22 cars currently taking part in free practice, and I'm looking at them as well. The CVs on some of these guys are absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, we got some 3 races to bring you as standard, 15 minutes of action for each of them. But before we could get into that, before we can even get into race 1, it's all about qualifying. We've got 7 minutes of qualifying to bring you a very short format, and as we saw from the Asia Pacific region, Nina, those short races, those short bursts, they can cause a stir.
Absolutely. Just one mistake can be really, really costly and cause chaos. And most of these guys, whether they're seasoned or they're newcomers, they're wanting to make a name for themselves. So even getting this far is quite a huge achievement for them. So it's all to play for.
It is all to play for. We got a long road to Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi, here in the Ferrari HP Esports Series, and obviously looking to try and crown our next juggernaut. And this is a real World Championship when you factor in that we have 3 regions taking part. Remember, it's not just Europe. We do, of course, have the Asia Pacific, as we alluded to earlier, but also in the Americas. So it stretches global. Plenty of drivers from all walks of life, whether they're sim racers by trade, whether they're real-life racers by trade, and moonlighting as sim racers. Together, they are here to compete. Here is the format structure. 30 participants from hot laps and regional qualifiers move into the 2-round phase that we have. 3 races for all participants in both rounds 1 and rounds 2, with the top 5 from each region heading to the Ferrari HP Esports Series 2024 Grand Finals on the 5th of December at Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. And bear in mind that stretches across 3 different sims, that being Assetto Corsa, iRacing and Assetto Corsa Competizione. We're starting things off with iRacing, of course, here tonight, as we have done now for the last 2 rounds. Here is the race structure. We have got race 1, grid decided by the qualifying result. That is across 7 minutes of qualifying action. Then race 2, the grid is set up by the race 1 result, and then follow that up with race 3, with that grid being set up by race 2 results. So, of course, that is something that the drivers are going to have to deal with. It is a very furiously fast structure, which exposes the best of talents, Nina.
Absolutely. Qualifying in tradition with the Ferrari HP Esports Series is a very tight affair. Drivers will be hoping for a good showing. It's the first race, and also if you start in the midfield, you risk getting caught up in that first lap drama. So you want to have a good showing to start out with.
Yeah, little reminder, top 6 go into the grand final, 2 from each region. Of course, 3 regions, 2 qualifiers from each region, meaning 6 go to that grand final. And it's going to be exceptional to see that. Let's take a look at the regions as well, like we have mentioned them already through the start of the broadcast. But there is the Asian Pacific region. We just, of course, witnessed some racing action there today with now 3 different race winners from there. European tonight, of course, that is EMEA. And then, of course, Americas that kicked off this fantastic championship earlier on, where we did witness Nicolas Rubelar, the Chilean, going 3 from 3. And still no one else has managed to match that. We thought that it had happened twice when, of course, we witnessed Cody Death trying to pull off the same thing. He did manage to do it on track, but the stewards' room denied him. As we now look ahead to tonight, we've got a fantastic calendar as well lying in wait. We will, of course, be taking you through that as well very soon too. Free practice currently underway for all the drivers here in tonight's European regions at a very cloudy, at this moment in time, Imola circuit, but no suggestions yet of any rain on this 27.78 degree circuit. Fabulous to have all these 3 regions involved though, Nina, because bear in mind, like we said, this is a world championship.
Absolutely, and this track in particular, it's steeped in history, George. It's absolutely amazing. You want to, if you avoid the curbs too much, you lose performance. You elevation changes, tough corners. I'm very, very excited.
Yeah, absolutely buzzing. Bear in mind, it's not just iRacing, of course, as we said, AC and ACC still to come as well. Here is that calendar. Round 1 and round 2, we've already concluded. Tonight is round 3 for EMEA at Imola to basically send off iRacing for now. We will be back on it, though, for Summit Point for round 10, 11 and 12. But next up after this one, round 4, 5 and 6 will be at Watkins Glen on Assetto Corsa Competizione. That kicks off on September 4th and ends on September 7th. We then head into Laguna Seca for Assetto Corsa at APAC on the 6th of September. That's round 7. Round 8 then on the same day, and then round 9 on the 14th of September on Assetto Corsa as well for the Americas region. Second half of the season, as we alluded to, Summit Point. It's not quite the summit of the championship, but halfway through. We are there back on iRacing, commencing on 30th of September with the Asia Pacific region, and then round 11 for the European region, and then the Americas region for round 12. Round 13, 14 and 15 takes us back on Assetto Corsa Competizione, and we head to the Earl Grey of World Motorsport. That is Silverstone, commencing that on the 2nd of October through with that hosting 2 of our regions, of course, Asia Pacific and Europe, and then Americas on the 12th of October. And then the final phase, it's Nürburgring, which will give us the send-off on Assetto Corsa 4th of October for both Asia Pacific and European regions, and then round 18 for the grand finale for the regional finals, and that is the Americas region on the 19th of October. And then, of course, we will decide as to which drivers head to Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi, for the overall grand final, where we will eventually crown a champion. And I'm sure we'll be looking forward to seeing who manages to achieve that. I mean, from the drivers that we've already seen, we saw some fantastic racing in the Americas. Rubelar obviously setting the world alight, but there's still others in that region that could yet cause a stir. And looking from what we saw in the Asia Pacific region, most recently, Cody Deeth, of course, winning the opening race. But after stewing decisions, Thomas Wilson taking race 2 victory and Caleb Hides taking race 3 victory. So it was a triple crown of sorts. It was a triple Aussie crown, Nina.
That's very true. And it's interesting, in your post-race interview with Kobe Deeth, he said the next circuit, Summit Point, is not necessarily a strong point for him. So it very much still is all to grabs in the APAC region.
Certainly is. They'll all be driving the Ferrari 296 GT3 as standard around this very circuit. The Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix has been held here. In fact, it's been hosting Grand Prix racing ever since 1980, as the line now takes us out of Tosa through Piratella, Acqua Minerale, a trip through Variante Alta, and downhill in towards Ravazza 1 and Ravazza 2, where you'll close out the lap. A fantastic circuit that was opened up on April 25th of 1953, 4.909 kilometers. 3.050 miles that translates to, and that's 19 turns in total. A roller coaster circuit, lots of elevation changes from sector 1 up to sector 2, where you'll head upwards, and then you're downhill heading in towards sector 3. We haven't got the Bassa chicane, that was modified. It's now a straight run out of Ravazza 2 down the home straight across the start finish line to commence your next lap. It is just a piece of art, this particular circuit, and we all know how the Italians can produce great racetracks. We allude to the likes of Monza, where we've just recently had the Italian Grand Prix, where Ferrari's very own Charles Leclerc would storm to victory in great style. It's truly a great week to be a Ferrari fan, Nina.
Absolutely. It's a great week for me, George. What a brilliant weekend for Ferrari. And actually, that alludes to a lot of drivers have their own routines, their own superstitions. They listen to certain music, eat certain foods. Speaking of Charles Leclerc, he said he only eats chicken and rice every Sunday before a race. And up until this season, he never used to listen to music, and now he listens to a certain playlist. So even, athletes and racing drivers alike, they will have their own little routines to get them in the zone.
Yeah, they were talking about routines right through that weekend, incidentally. But yeah, Charles Leclerc is obviously, bringing out obviously his routine. I think obviously when you have a routine, I suppose it leaves out the mystery, I suppose, in some ways. I mean, obviously these drivers like to make assurances in any way they can. Leclerc taking that victory, assuring himself a second race win at Monza. Of course, he went ahead to take one all the way back in 2019. But much like Charles Leclerc, all these drivers that are taking part into tonight's race, or tonight's 3 races here in the European regions, be looking to do exactly the same as he has done, and therefore taking a win at an Italian track, of course in this case here at Imola. Now obviously we've spoken about the dangers, the fraught dangers. I mean, what are the basic factors around Imola that these drivers have to really contend with, Nina?
I mean, there's pretty tough corners, like I say. The chicanes early on are probably slightly more straightforward than some of the later parts of the track. Piratella, for example, that's quite quick and you're blind towards the exit. You, like I say, George, you want to use the full width of the circuit. Carry as much speed as you can into Acqua Morale. If you avoid the curbs too much, you lose performance. So it's about getting it right, really, George. It's very much a racer's circuit.
It is very much a racer's circuit, and we allude to the elevation changes, the variety in cornering as well. And we've got a variety in drivers from different backgrounds, including this man, David Toth, VCO IndyCar Challenge Championship P4 sitter in this year alone, and has raced in various major GT3 championships and also a major single-seater iRacing series alike. So he's well versed to this, and he is a Hungarian Sim Liga champion. He has been that champion now for 4 years running and managed to secure it earlier on this year. And I could go through the CVs of every single driver here. All of them are absolutely sensational. And they'll be driving this Ferrari 296 GT3, top speed at 330 kilometers an hour. It translates to 205 miles per hour, 0 to 62 in 2.9 seconds. It would make your trip to the shop a lot easier, that's for sure.
Very much so. You talk about CVs of these drivers taking part this evening, and that's really important because this circuit, it rewards bravery, it rewards commitment, and it rewards fast corner entry. So if you have that confidence behind you, you're only going to go faster, George.
Yeah, certainly will. David Toth, who we're currently riding on board with, coming out of Ravazza to now, you can pick up a lot of speed heading down this phenomenal straight. Slight curvature in this straight though, however, but nothing that the Ferrari 296 can't handle. Will Chadwick, another one we can look at as well. Obviously someone who is used to sitting on both sides of the spectrum, a driver and also a team manager in his own right, but has been so successful in championships this year alone. Won the Nürburgring 24-hour this year, and now back again this time in GT3 machinery, and has been part of some sensational LAN events as of late, more recently in Saudi Arabia, where he has been tussling it with the best in the world. Unfortunately, it wasn't a successful visit, but this time around, he might be successful here tonight in the Ferrari HP Esports Series Championship. Are there any drivers that have really caught your eye, Nina?
Well, you know, David Toth has a very high iRacing number, so he's caught my eye. The likes of James Armstrong, maybe, definitely William Chadwick. What about you?
Well, alluding back to James Armstrong, I'm glad you brought him up because, of course, we speak about CVs. He has got one incredible CV. iRacing 2021 Le Mans 24-hour top split LMP1 winner, and has also achieved a runner-up in split 2 of Bathurst 12 hours. So keep your eyes peeled on him. He is going to be quick. 6 hours of Le Mans winner as well on May the 29th back in 2022, over a couple of years ago. And the big question is, will he be able to turn up some trees? And we've also got some stellar real-life drivers as well. We were alluding back to Attila Buxi as well, 17 years of age. And we were chatting about this young man prior to going on air as well, Nina. Races in the TCR series, most recently, as of 12 weeks ago, won at Slovakia Ring, and taking part in the Eastern Europe side of the championship. Currently sits P2 in that championship in TCR, but is also a driver coach for various junior drivers, as Will Chadwick posts the fastest time of 1:40.989. They put us to shame here, Nina.
Absolutely, that's what we were saying. His career so far at the tender age of 17 years old, George, definitely puts us to shame, and good for him.
Yeah, good for him. I tell you what, it's certainly well earned. And as Torlashi, who goes briefly third fastest, now drops to 4th with a 1:41. He has got family members that compete in the Dakar Rally alike, so it's quite an interesting complexion. We'll see more and more drivers making their way across the line, I'm sure, very shortly. Van der Grip goes into 5th fastest for now, currently sitting just under 0.7 of a second off the top. Still Will Chadwick with the fastest time, but no doubt we will see some of the drivers posting their final runs. Those that haven't set laps, they're leaving themselves in a little bit of risk here because, of course, factoring in the track length of Imola, they would have probably wanted to have at least laid down their first times by now. We've got a couple more coming along. Porter goes into 6th fastest, and we've got Faye Viets who goes into 7th. Now, that is a time that's 2.3 off the top. So he has got a lot of work to do to register his fastest lap. But we've got Attila Buxi, the TCR driver, now coming through Ravazza 1 and 2 now, Nina.
Absolutely, and you want to have a good start. Like we say, where you qualify decides where you start in race 1, and where you finish in race 1 decides where you start in race 2. So you don't really want to start at the back if you at race 1.
No, you certainly don't. You want to send a clear message. Buxi now heading down through towards Tamburello this time around, looking to commence this lap and get off to a strong start anyway. I mean, obviously, 7 minutes of qualifying, such a brutal system. Obviously, the drivers being tasked with trying to, obviously advance their charge as best as possible, as Francis McGinn goes second fastest, and Osman Sert dropping into third as well, ahead of James Armstrong. So a lot of the big players started to come into play at the very top. Francis McGinn's time just over 2/10 away. Will Chadwick still holding firm onto that pole lap.
Absolutely. Do you think the pressure of performing on a world stage for such a name like Ferrari would get to these guys, George?
Well, definitely. I think when you represent the prancing horses in any context, and especially here live on a worldwide broadcast such as this, especially given the reputation that Ferrari carries with great racing drivers past and present, whether it's in real life or even in the sim racing space, it's obviously a lot to handle, but these drivers need to prove that they are outright professionals, and already we're seeing many of them that compete at the highest level already featuring up at the top. What I find absolutely incredible is we've got the top 6 all within just over 7.5 tenths of a second. Fantastic showing already here from Europe, but we have got over 23 drivers registered in this session, and only 8 of them, or should I say a few more of them are setting laps as it stands, but only 8 of them have registered initial laps.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? Look how close the top 6 are. Goodness me, it's going to be a close race, isn't it, George?
It's going to be very tight. Buxi now making his way up towards the line. Of course, we saw him cross the line not too long ago. Been following him around on a lap as Attila now comes up towards the line. But that is qualifying complete as we hit the 7-minute mark, and no one could stop Will Chadwick, who set that 1:49.21 very early on and will take pole position coming into this one. And we found out just prior to going on air as well that he regularly competes in the Mazda MX-5s. So amazing to hear that. Takes part in club racing. Naturally, a lot of budding sim drivers do take part in club racing alike. I know a couple as well that even take part in various, whether it be small cars like you see the odd Mini now and again and things of that nature. But then of course you have the advanced GT3 machinery that these Ferrari 296s are all about. But these drivers able to translate that real life racing form into sim form, and Will Chadwick's just done that straight away. The driver, of course, based here in the United Kingdom, has now advanced his charge right at the top, and he'll be hoping to stay there, Nina.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't win a race at the first corner, George, but you most certainly can lose it. So the nervous energy will certainly be bubbling here. No mistakes. Head down.
Yeah, definitely. Head down. That's exactly the mentality you need. Francis McGinn, though, putting in a good stint in his own right in achieving second place, and will feature on the front row alongside Will Chadwick. Remember, rolling starts as far as the Ferrari HP Esports series is concerned, and Francis McGinn has raced in the IMSA Esports Open Challenge on iRacing against the likes of Cody Death and Will Chadwick and Justin Rem, who was featured in our Americas night the other night, and is a former F1 League racer based in Scotland in the United Kingdom. So it's an all UK front row as it stands, but they've got Osman Aslan Sert, the Turk, just sat in behind with James Armstrong with that incredible CV under his belt. Can Armstrong get a good start? Augustin Torlashi as well, with family that are associated with Dakar racing. Augustin himself has raced in e-rally championships and has also taken part in various F1 sim racing events. He is now racing in GT3 racing here tonight, looking to put himself in position to potentially achieve top honours in the Ferrari 296. It is all to play for. We have got such a hench lineup, a hench grid, and I must say the top 6 look utterly mouth-watering.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued because these guys have a great CV behind them. Will they go aggressive? Will they take it more cautiously? It's going to be a great race, George.
They'll throw caution to the wind, I think. And looking at the front row, it's Chadwick and McGinn who will lead them through the Variante Alta. They will descend downhill. Predictions from all of you, wherever you're watching, whether on YouTube or Twitch, let us know in those live chats. Who do you think is going to top the timesheets? Who's going to top the results sheet come the end of race 1, race 2 or race 3. Let us know, folks. And obviously at the front of the order for now, it's between Chadwick and McGinn. James Armstrong waiting in the wings. In behind, Osman, Aslan Sert. What about Ryan van der Grip? What about Augustin Toralashi? What about David Toth? Further back with Ludovic Favits as well, sat in 8th place. Mirko Siriano, who was part of that Ferrari contingent that went to win the F1 Sim Racing World Championship, Teams Championship, in fact, earlier this year. We'll find out soon enough as the cars now trickle down the straight. It's a blue Ferrari 296 on the left, a yellow one on the right. Chadwick and McGinn, they'll run side by side towards the line. Armstrong waiting, so is Sert, as we await the lights to go red and out again as they cross the start-finish line. They're still trickling still, but now they'll put pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. A great start for both Chadwick and McGinn. McGinn might have lost out slightly. Chadwick trying to hold on to that inside line, coming in towards Tamarello further back. Aslan Sert also involved with James Armstrong, going wheel to wheel with him alike. And then further back, we got Ryan van der Grip and Augustin Toralashi, who is trying to get himself into the fight, but Chadwick is clear up in the front, just weaving side to side, and a huge incident right to the back. I think that might be Andreas Bachmann, who we've lost towards the rear.
Oh, I was about to say, it's been a good clean run from all the drivers going down into Tamburello, but then we've had a big incident.
Yeah, massive incident, and a bit of debris as well. A front bumper peeling away off the front of one of the Ferraris as well, coming through Tosa. Chadwick is trying to gap, and he's nearly clear by 9/10 of a second from Francis McGinn, who's got to put his best defensive helmet on, because James Armstrong is queuing up in behind, as is Aslan Sert.
Absolutely, Chadwick wants to build some space between him and McGinn. He does not want McGinn in that tow.
Not at all. Posilico and Mirko Siriano going together. The Italian Mirko Siriano, as I said, who has represented Ferrari in his own right. In fact, from this season's F1 Sim Racing Championship, helped the team to winning the Teams Championship in the F1 Sim Racing Series. Of course, it was Barry Burremand and Nicolas Longuet who would storm to that championship. It was a big occasion for Ferrari, but Siriano, unfortunately, having to wait behind Posilico, at least for now, but they'll descend downhill in towards Rivazza 1 and in towards Rivazza 2, and Siriano will have an opportunity to seek redemption against Posilico heading in towards Tamburello. But there's a queue in behind, including Veg, David Veg, the Hungarian, who's also looking for an opportunity. Mirko Siriano has since managed to move into 10th. David Toth as well, who we're currently seeing on screen. He's in 7th. He's got Torlashi around him, as well as Buxi. As I said, TCR driver who's going to go certainly wheel to wheel with him, and Buxi, who's not afraid to go side by side as they do so often where it comes to touring cars in TCR. But look at Toth coming straight back at him on the outside, coming out of Tamburello in towards Villeneuve. Absolutely fantastic effort from David Toth, keeping Buxi at bay.
Absolutely nice aggressive racing, but clean racing, which is the main thing. You don't want to spend too much time going back and forth like this and squabbling over tyres. Toth, you want to get that overtake done as soon as possible.
Yeah, the Hungarian doing his utmost, of course, trying to keep down the TCR Eastern European driver. And he could yet be a champion as well. Currently sat P2 in the TCR Championship. He'd be looking for greater grandeur, though, in the Ferrari HP Esports Series. As we watch Degu Hegni now coming down into the Aqua Minerale section. Still chasing after David Veg, who's currently sat in 11th, and chasing after Mirko Siriano. Don Roberts sat in 9th and has got a little bit of clearance away from Mirko Siriano at this stage. And Roberts, of course, as I said, has taken part in British karting. Did so back in 2019, and in fact his last race in that championship was a P3. So knows how to get the big results as we now rejoin Ryan van der Grip. Sits in 5th. Chasing after Osman Aslan Sert. Still Chadwick persevering up at the front. Just look at that, he's 1.2 clear of Francis McGinn. He's had a phenomenal race so far.
Absolutely, he's setting that tone and he's saying, I'm the one to come and get. If you want me, come and get me. That's exactly what he's saying. The midfield, still quite bunched up, George. Everything's still to play for. It
certainly is. Remember, top 10 score points, 25 points for the winner, single point for the man who finishes in P10. At the moment, that's going to be Mirko Siriano, who also has a passion of photography. He'll be hoping to take a snapshot of this one come the end of the day. But at this point, we still have quite a few minutes still to go in race 1 alone. They come through now in towards the next left and right out of Villeneuve, and now a trip through towards Tosa. And de Grip doing a great job of keeping Toralashi just in behind. Like I said, he's got masses of experience where it comes to e-rallying. And Toth further down. just waiting for his chance. He, of course, has been in the thick of the action so far. As I said, VCO IndyCar Challenge Championships P4 sitter earlier on this year. Needs to translate that single-seater form into GT3 form, ideally, Nina.
Absolutely. And what's your tactic with this stage of the race, Jules? We're quite early on. A lot of them are in trains. Are you going to go max attack, or are you just going to bide your time?
Well, I mean, the concerns you've got is if you lose the train ahead, is that obviously it sets you on the back foot, because it means you've got a lot of work to do to try and close the gap. And if the cars in front are getting slipstream, then catching those drivers makes it all the more trickier. And as we now watch Van der Grip now make his way down the hill, of course chasing after Osman Aslan Sert, the Turk, who is taking part in this event, looking to obviously claim a huge result. They go in tandem, heading through the final two corners, looking really sharp at this point. Of course, Osman Aslan Sert, also a competitor in the IMSA series on iRacing, and as many of them have done. Of course, many of these drivers would have competed in an endurance-style event, but endurance racing is entirely different to this, because this is very much a sprint format with no pit stops included, Nina.
Exactly. And now I think as the race has settled a little bit, they've done a few laps, I think we're now going to see the gloves start to come off, like we are for Armstrong in third, 4/10 behind Finnegan. Yeah,
4/10 at the moment, just in behind and looking to close. Obviously, we'll have every chance. Begalin is also on the back of Salem further up. Of course, that's OB Salem from Yemen, currently residing in Saudi Arabia. And was actually a successful regional qualifier, took victories in both race 1 and race 2 in split 1 at Alton Park to qualify for this event. But unfortunately, much like what we saw from Peter Arindel in the Americas event, and also Tyron Roberts, who both went on to go back-to-back for their regional qualifiers, they did not show the same form in racing action. So it goes to show you may perform well in the regional qualifier, but it's a total different ball game when you get to the regional finals.
Absolutely different tracks as well. Some drivers have bogey circuits, some drivers have circuits they go better on. It all just depends.
Yeah, it certainly does. Many conditions do make a difference as we watch James Armstrong trying to chase after Francis McGinn. And this is a battle over second place. McGinn now 1.7 away from Will Chadwick, who is, well, again, in a world of his own and enjoying, I think, seclusion up at the very top. Won't get a lot of airtime for that, but I'm sure he won't mind, as McGinn heads down the long straight, being closely pursued by James Armstrong, who will be looking to add the Ferrari HP Esports Series to his long list of credentials and fantastic championship wins. Holds multiple iRacing world records in GT3 and LMP1, which makes him a dead cert to be successful, you'd fathom, in a championship like this.
Absolutely. Nice close battle going on here as well. It's all to play for. People want to try and get as much points as possible. Like you said, George, 25 points for first place, all the way down to 1 point for 10th place. Yeah,
every single point counts. There we see Dom Roberts, the former competitor in karting, keen golfer as well, be looking for a hole-in-one here if he can get past Buxi. Has a look down the inside, swaps immediately, but Buxi saw it coming, and the 17-year-old TCR driver will not be fooled by that. Runs slightly wide coming out of Tosa, but I must say he would be dealing with moves like that time and time again as far as TCR is concerned, able to use that experience here in GT3 sim racing action.
Absolutely, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Experience and confidence. When you're going to brake, when you're going to accelerate, you can see that through his driving.
Yeah, coming through Acca Minerale. Mirko Siriano also part of this fight as well, and looking to perhaps translate some of his single-seater form into GT3 cars as they now climb out in towards Variante Alta, where Dom Roberts will be looking to chase after Buxi and maybe throw the odd spanner in the works. Buxi, of course, not only competing in TCR, but like we said, driver coach as well. Last win, though, in TCRs was back at Slovakia Ring, as we said before, 12 weeks ago. And we'll be looking to perhaps try and garner some positive performances, maybe even a race win or two here in this championship. Remember, we will be heading to Summit Point for the second half of the iRacing side of the championship. Olsen managing to finally move past Begalin. Further here now, we have a battle between Toth and Toralashi. The Argentinian coming under threat is now the Hungarian. Blasts up the inside. That is a fantastic move from David Toth. Exactly what we've come to expect from a man with his ability. And the Hungarian, four-time Sim Liga champion, 4 years in a row he's claimed that prize, is flexing his ability, his talents here at Imola.
Absolutely beautiful move, side by side down into Tamburello, pulled out a little bit later on the brakes, nice and clean.
Yeah, nice and clean indeed. That's exactly what we want to see as we now watch Mike Barber, who at the age of 34 loves his racing, loves his sim racing, and has managed to get past Arminu as well, the Romanian, who now drops down to 20th. So Barber will be looking to try and consolidate this, but that's a great effort on his part, and will now come through Villeneuve, up through Tosa. He's got a little bit of work to do, though, to catch up to Le Livre for 18th place as we rejoin Ryan van der Grip, who sits in 5th, still chasing after Osman Sert, with David Toth in behind now after getting past Tor Lashi. As we said, heritage, family heritage in Dakar Rally, and they've been successful as well, taking big prizes. And we've seen what Dakar can do to racers and their careers. Of course, Michel Alabaidan being one of them, who has gone on now to race boats, incidentally, in E1 Series action. But we now watch Ryan van der Grip make his way out of Ravazza 2. He might get a chance here. He'll have slipstream off the back of this. Blasting down the straight, Osman Sert is going to be watching in his mirrors for every move that the blue 296 makes on the run down towards Tamburello. But crucially enough, David Toth is being towed along and actually set a personal best in his previous lap, but not enough to execute that overtake. Do have to wonder whether Sert is having some issues, because clearly there's damage on the front of that car.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things where you don't want to be overly aggressive. You can just bide your time. It's not uncommon for opponents to make mistakes.
No, not at all. Van der Grip can't afford to make any mistakes, but with a name like Van der Grip, he has the grip. As we now watch Booksy and Dom Roberts once again coming toe-to-toe. Will Roberts have Booksy's number? Remember, they came together coming through the Tosa section before, but this time Booksy once again with that tiger line up the inside trying to defend. And look at Siriano just coming into contact. It was front right to left door side of Dom Roberts' 296, and once again Roberts filtering to the outside, almost requisite of karting maneuvers that we've seen from this young man. He's trying to execute here against a stellar driver like Booksy, who I think is more concerned about defending. And look at this wheel-to-wheel with Siriano and David Veg in behind through Aqua Minerale. That's a very risky place to do it. How on earth did they keep those cars on the track?
Goodness me, this is exactly what we want to see, George. We're heading towards the end of this race now. The gloves are starting to come off and people are trying to gain some points.
They certainly are. Abid Salem has moved up to 12th as well. Favites ahead of Olsen. Posilico in between in 13th as well. But Dom Roberts, unfortunately, still unsuccessful against Booksy, Attila Booksy, for that 8th place. We're now back with David Toth this time, who chases after Ryan van der Grip. And this is a battle over 5th place. Points on the table, 10 points if you finish in 5th. And that's exactly what David Toth is going to be thinking. He set a personal best on his previous lap and has a look around the outside. The question is, can he execute? Coming through Tamburello, not quite. Ryan van der Grip really proving that he has that defensive masterclass in him once again, as he still chases after Osman Sert, but he has lost places, or certainly lost time to him, with this big defensive effort he's putting out against David Toth, who is furiously fast.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch. And we saw in the earlier race in the APAC region, cars going well and then making mistakes and ending up at the back of the grid and having a whole lot of work to do. So I think what they're doing as well, they want to get a good haul of points in this first race and then obviously make up more places in race number 2.
Yeah, looking to take the chains off when, of course, we go racing for race 2 coming up very soon. It won't be long until we get stuck into that. Remember, the results from this race will obviously form the grid for our next one too. And Will Chadwick, I would say, is pretty much going to be your pole sitter. 3.3 seconds to the good ahead of Francis McGinn, who is desperately trying to hang on with James Armstrong still pursuing him. We're back with this phenomenal fight with Dom Roberts and Attila Booksy at this stage. And I have to say, Booksy's done a tremendous job of keeping Roberts behind, but Mirko Siriano is looking every which way for an opportunity to perhaps encourage his points equation right now, as we have a look down the inside here with David Toth under pressure from Tor Lashi, who has a look at the inside, can't quite find the move, heading out of Ravazza 1, heading out of Ravazza 2, staying glued to the back of the Hungarian. The Argentine looking to represent Argentina in the FIA Motorsport Games for the F4 Esports category later this year in October. Now hunting down after David Toth, but I think at this time not able to do it. In fact, watching them now pirouette out on screen, that is actually David Toth on Ryan van der Grip. Tor Lashi just sat in behind. Apologies for the mix-up there, folks. Toth heading out and might yet get van der Grip's number as they go side by side again this time through Villeneuve. The blue 296 against the red. But again, really well positioned, Ryan van der Grip, to place his car to the inside as they head up now through towards Tosa. But a switchback, of course, coming in towards Tosa could provide an opportunity here for David Toth, who will now rise up the hill in a bid to try and take down Ryan van der Grip. It's going to be a drag race up towards the Piratella. The furiously fast left-hander now, but still with the inside and the better line, Ryan van der Grip. But I think Toth might have him this time because Aqua Minerale's next and his car is in front of his. Toth managing to finally get through. It's been a long time coming. He persevered and he broke down Ryan van der Grip, who did not have enough grip to keep him at bay.
Absolute fabulous race. And your commentator's curse there, George. You said he had all the grip in the world because of his name, and now look, he's just been overtaken.
Yeah, unfortunately he's lost it. It's my fault entirely. Apologies going out to Ryan van der Grip. But Will Chadwick, as the seconds count down, we are now on the final lap, and as he exits out of the final Rivatsa corner, he'll take a trip through towards this little kink in the course to then take victory in the opening race here in the Europe region of the Ferrari HP Esports Series regional finals. It's Will Chadwick out on top with Francis McGinn in second place and James Armstrong finishing in third. And it's an all-Brit 1, 2 and 3.
Amazing. And not only did Chadwick win, look at the time he won by, George. Nearly 4 seconds. That, my friend, is a statement.
That is a statement indeed. Flexing the muscles, William Chadwick out on top. The man who takes part in Mazda MX-5 racing has brought it home in a Ferrari 296. A truly magnificent effort on his part, and just showing all the skills and traits that he can certainly bring to the table, no doubt. Of course, he's got that managerial head on his shoulders as well. But once again, putting a W, this time in his own column, to follow suit from the Nürburgring 24 hours that he won not too long ago. But a fabulous effort as well from Francis McGinn, who had to defend against James Armstrong. We've spoken about his talents as well alike. Do not be surprised if we see those two fighting Will Chadwick through the course of our next race. But they'll have a big mission on their hands because 3.8 seconds is quite the number here, Nina.
Absolutely. They'll want to try and get the jump on him at the start. I think that's the key. If you try and get the jump at the start, and then you can just put in some quality laps.
Yeah, you certainly can. That's exactly what Chadwick was doing, I think. David Toth as well, we've got to say, well done to him. Getting past Ryan van der Grip, he saved it until the very last few laps, at least the dying moments of the race. But it finally happened for him. I think he's going to be chuffed at least to bolster his own points tally, because like we said, it could be the difference maker to qualifying for Ferrari World Yas Island Abu Dhabi in December, Nina.
Absolutely. He's just got to go for it now. Race 2, take the gloves off. Let's go.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's exactly what they need to do. Obviously, the countdown's on now until we venture out for race 2. We will, of course, be heading to the track. Of course, you can see pan pictures here of Imola as it stands as we get preparations underway for race 2. Remember, the grid formed by the results from race 1. So very soon we will be seeing Chadwick and McGinn sharing the front row once more. But other drivers we've got to talk about as well. Mirko Siriano unable to stretch higher than P10, but at least it's a point on the table. Obviously, as far as he's concerned, he'll be chasing for more, especially with a driver of his reputation that has done well in F1 sim racing with the Ferrari team itself, in aiding them to take in the team's championship, of course, working and engineering behind the scenes for Barry Burramand as well as Nicolas Longuet. He'll be hoping to add his 2 penneth here in this championship as well alike. Here are the current standings. William Chadwick on top with 25 points to his name. Francis McGinn sat in second on 18. James Armstrong, 15 points in third. Osman Aslan Sert with 12 points fourth. David Toth on 10 points in fifth. Ryan van der Grip in 6th place with 8 points. Augustin Toralashi Paez in 7th place on 6. Attila Buxi in 8th place with 4 points. We can then move down to the next part of our standings with David Veg managing to pull off 9th place and achieving 2 points. Mirko Siriano with that solitary point up to that 10th place finish. He leaves behind Alessandro Porta, Gareth Higgins, Carmelo Martello, Ivan Pinocchio, as well as Julian Van Buel and Nicholas Degu-Hegney, who are all sat on 0 points and looking to claim their first. But they will have opportunities to do so with 2 races still to go tonight.
Can we just talk about Ivan Pinocchio? What a name, George. What a legendary name, Pinocchio.
He tells no lies, I can tell you that.
He doesn't.
No, he certainly doesn't. I must say, I'm intrigued to see how he gets on because, like many here, of course, a driver who's very adept and has got raw talent and ability. I'm sure we'll be seeing him perhaps usher in some decent runs. He, of course, racing in GT3 machinery numerous times. It's actually a keen motorcyclist as well, believe it or not. So likes to travel on his motorcycle every now and again. Of course, an Italian with a lot of passion for racing, and I'm sure we'll see that passion flowing as we make our way through the night. But the drivers just getting themselves set, ready for racing. Any eye catchers on your part, Nina, from that last race?
Oh, the statement that William Chadwick made, George, it was hard to ignore. I think it's important as well, those who didn't have a good showing, to reset, you know, put any dramas they had behind them, treat it like a new race. It is a new race, and just go again. Clean mindset.
Yeah, clean mindset is of the order. The cars now making their way through Variante Alta once again, and we'll take a look at the front two. Francis McGinn, who we're currently staring at in the blue Ferrari 296, William Chadwick, who had literally no airtime whatsoever because he was just simply too far in front. Obviously never ideal, but in some cases... I don't
think he minds.
No, I don't think so. No, I mean, I'm sure he would love... I'm sure he'd do exactly the same thing for the next two races, should it mean taking a Triple Crown victory, much like we saw from Nicolas Rubelar, the Chilean, back in our opening night of the Ferrari HP Esports Series in our first ever round, or certainly our first round this year. As we now watch the cars make their way out of Ravazza 2, they'll all queue up and get ready to go. The pace car coming into the pits. It is now down to Chadwick and McGinn, with Armstrong in behind Aslan Sir, David Toth, Van der Grip, as well as Torlashi. Who's it going to be on the run down through turn 1 and towards turn 2 at Tamburello? Who will tumble at Tamburello? Who will succeed? William Chadwick taking that lofty advantage right at the start. Back comes Francis McGinn as they run side by side, and they'll put pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. Great start for both drivers, McGinn and Chadwick. McGinn slightly in front here, the nose on his 296 with enough alongside Chadwick to be considered our race leader, and he's going to take it. He's taken it. Francis McGinn out in front has finally got the nod ahead of Will Chadwick, who is going to try and take him side by side in towards Villeneuve. The yellow 296 fighting back, really defiant here against Francis McGinn, who has to renege as now Chadwick takes the lead back as they head in towards Tosa. And just look at James Armstrong in behind.
Oh my goodness, what a start. Exactly what McGinn would have wanted. Unfortunately, the second phase wasn't so great, and we can't deny Will Chadwick's raw pace, so I'm not surprised he took that position back.
No, I'm not surprised at all. William Chadwick with only one thing on his mind. I want to go back to back. I want 50 points. Well, you've gone about it the right way. Francis McGinn, unfortunately, now under pressure on both counts. He's under pressure to try and stay on the back of Will Chadwick, but also at the same time keep James Armstrong in behind, which is going to be easier said than done, especially given his reputation as far as it comes to sim racing, as they now head in towards the Variante Alta for the first time here in race 2. For the back, Torlashi as well, not too far away. And Dom Roberts, the former karting driver, now also making up the top 5 with David Toth further back as well alike. But still, it's Chadwick who leads the way. We join Mike Barber further down. Race winner at the Long Beach in the FTR GT3 World Series in earlier this year as well, and has also raced in the iRacing 24-hour of Spa. He's based in Staffordshire in the UK. And proud to say that he's 34 years young as well. And it's fantastic having Mike Barber here for the ride. Just proves that age is just a number as far as racing is concerned.
Age is just a number, Jaws, absolutely. We'll say that again and again and again until we start to believe it. I mean, we had Andreas Bachmann, who's currently in 16th place. He turned 30 last week. So again, you know, we've got some guys our age here.
As we said, all walks of life, Nina.
Exactly.
It has to be said, including me, when I'm considered an old one as well at 32 here in the commentary box. As we now watch, once again, some moves being made here. This time, James Armstrong. This is a battle for second. And I must say, that is a fantastic move from James Armstrong, putting the pressure here on Francis McGinn. And McGinn is going to have to answer back on the run up through towards Piratella. Blue v red here as far as the Ferrari 296s are concerned, but Armstrong has the benefit of having that tighter line, and McGinn very nearly losing out as he ran very wide on the outset of Piratella. This invites towards Zalashi now to come into P3. Can he fight off Roberts and effectively take the place away? I think Roberts has done enough. Dom Roberts has found his way through somehow in all the chaos that ensued heading around Piratella. Dom Roberts moves up to third.
My goodness me, George, what on earth happened to Armstrong? He's down in 18th.
Yeah, Armstrong must have had a moment. It didn't look like he had too much of an issue heading through the Piratella section, but obviously something must have happened heading through the latter stage of that apex that we must have missed on camera. But Armstrong losing out a huge bucket load of positions as we now watch Christian Bettis, who's under pressure. And Armstrong, I can confirm, was involved in quite an incident and therefore has dropped down to P16 as we're seeing it on our timing screen. Will Chadwick posting the fastest lap of the race so far as we now watch Christian Bettis Begelin now try and roll side by side with Lelivre over 10th place. Lelivre looking to try and lift himself into the top 10. Can he do that? I think at this stage he might. Oh, he might not. Oh, Lelivre around, and he's not alone because so is Christian Bettis Begelin, and that elevates James Armstrong, who's been given somewhat of a reprieve, up into 14th as we now watch David Toth squabbling now with Augustin Toralashi.
George, race 1 and race 2, it's like night and day. I had a feeling the gloves would come off, but not by this much. Everyone is really, really going for it. They know precious points are on the line, and, you know, mistakes can be really costly, as we're seeing with Armstrong.
Yeah, we certainly are. Dom Roberts having a fantastic run, though. He's now nearly clear by a second ahead of David Toth, who has kept Toralashi in behind. And as they now climb up out of Aqua Minerale, Will Chadwick has now rushed out by over a second. It's 1.2, so the carbon copy of our previous race ensues. The only difference being is, of course, Chadwick did not lead the race right at the very get-go. Of course, Francis McGinn had it for a time. We're now back with James Armstrong, who's looking to try and fight back, but he's now on the tail of Posilico over 13th place, and he's got a gap of 2.6 to David Begg in behind. So as they now come out of the Variante Alta, they'll head downhill once more and then venturing towards Ravatsa 2. Now, the one good bit of news for James Armstrong is that he's got a queue of cars that are in overtaking positions, and the queue all roam up to P10. So it's not out of the question. We're only in the first 5 minutes. In fact, we've crossed 5 minutes now. He's got 10 minutes to get into the points.
It's not impossible. It's not impossible at all. I mean, if we look to the APAC region this morning, you know, Motto did it. He just has to keep his head down. He has to stay focused. Don't get overwhelmed and just crack on, really.
Yeah, and what'll also help him is that Arminu and Bachmann are battling over P11 right now too. So Posilico losing out to Armstrong in the process, and Armstrong has moved up to 12th. So James Armstrong on the move here, though he has lost out a lot of time to P10's Barber, but has now managed to alleviate and make 3 places in the space of a single sector. That is phenomenal from James Armstrong.
Exactly what he would have wanted. He will say, more like this, please. Keep them coming.
Yeah, you'll knock him down. You set him up, I'll knock him down, he says.
Exactly.
James Armstrong coming out of Tosa, climbing up the hill towards Piratella. Toth 4 tenths away from Dom Roberts, who sat in 3rd and has managed to close that gap quite comfortably. Remember, it was peeling out to 9 tenths, very nearly over a second. But David Toth with quite the reputation in his own right. We alluded to his single-seater successes where it comes down to racing at the top level, but also competing in the Bathurst 12-hour in Split 2, becoming a runner-up in a race like that around such a tricky track. And we all know the walls at Bathurst are very tricky to deal with. No such walls here necessarily here at Imola, but the circuit is certainly narrow enough.
Absolutely. I mean, Roberts was gifted that 3rd position currently from James Armstrong's dramas, and he'll want to try and hold on for that as much as he can, but I think Toth's going to get him.
Yeah, well, he's right in the slipstream. Every chance. Personal best here for Will Chadwick and a personal best for Dom Roberts, but also a personal best for David Toth, and he was 4 tenths quicker than Roberts in the last lap. Here comes Toth, having a look around the outside, sending that warning shot, just showing in the mirrors, giving Dom Roberts something to think about here. And just look at this, he might yet get a switch back, heading down towards Villeneuve. Will he try it? Will he open the door here as early as this? Once again, another look in the mirrors, just warning Dom Roberts, just saying, I am here, I'm riding your rear spoiler. There's every chance he could yet escalate something, heading in towards the Tosa left-hander. Very nearly does so. I must say, Dom Roberts must be quivering in his boots here.
Absolutely. It's psychological games, isn't it, George? It's either you make a mistake or I'm going to overtake you, but either way I'm going to get you. He's trying to get in his head. Yeah,
really. He's becoming a bit of a toothache here to Dom Roberts, is David Toth. Not ideal. Tooth and Toth. Probably that joke doesn't fly, does it?
Oh, excuse the pun, George.
Yeah, trust me, get used to it, Nina. There's going to be a lot of them through the course of the next few months.
I like it.
Fantastic. We now watch Osman Sert hustling down the hill towards Aqua Minerale. chasing after the queue of cars in front that include Boucher and Veg, as well as Arminu as well, who's trying to close up to the back of Bachmann. So this contingent are trying to break up to where James Armstrong are, but Posilico 2.6 away from Armstrong, and Bachmann is 1.3 away from Posilico. So at the moment they're racing for pride here, and well, obviously not necessarily, they can't worry about points when you're that far down. But we're back now with David Toth once again on the tail of David Roberts. Will Chadwick has just posted a personal best once again. Roberts and Toth doing exactly the same. In fact, they almost nearly match laps to the same thousandth of a second. It was a little bit of a difference, but they were both in the twos as they fly through the Tamburello chicane.
Absolutely, and the guys currently out of the points. It's important not to get disheartened. As we can see, loads of dramas can happen up ahead. So just bide your time, stay consistent. Opportunity meets preparation.
Yeah, certainly does. DQ Hegney also within a second now on Attila Buxi. He, of course, sat in 7th place as they now make their way through the left-hander at Tosa. Toth 0.2 of a second away from Roberts, and it's closing once again on the climb up through towards Piratella. But the question is, will he make the move that we saw earlier on? Of course, we all saw it happen when James Armstrong was attacking with Francis McGinn over that 2nd place, and how it all erupted and what it turned into. Of course, Dom Roberts will remember it fondly, because it meant that he was then pushed into that podium equation, which David Toth is now looking to rip away from Dom Roberts. But keep your eyes peeled here on Augustin Torlashi, because he sat down in 5th, and he'll jump on any opportunity to, well, marshal his charge and maybe even take the podium for himself.
Absolutely. With these two squabbling away, it's allowed him to join the party. So something has to give here.
Yeah, definitely does. Mirko Siriano with a bit of work to do, but the good news for Mirko Siriano is that he's not sat in P10. He's sat in P6, and has got 2 seconds to find on Torlashi over that P5. As we now head down, we can actually take a look now at the drivers now marshalling their charge down through towards the chicane. Wheel to wheel, they'll run once more. As we now watch them head through the order. What have you seen, Nina?
I'm just watching the driver's face. He just looks so calm, like nothing's even happening, like he's just going for a little practice lap. Not that he's literally fighting nearly side by side.
I know, you wouldn't think it, would you? Truly exceptional on part of these drivers. David Toth, incidentally, we're currently seeing on the right-hand side, still trying to challenge as he chases after Dom Roberts, climbing up the hill. And still Dom Roberts doing enough to hold on to that 3rd place. Augustin Torlashi also waiting in the wings. Just looks like he's pottering on for a Sunday drive here, Nina.
Absolutely. I just saw him take a big side, though, so I think he's getting a little bit frustrated. He wants to get past him. Yeah,
I think he does. Obviously, that's what it's all about. Racing drivers are built with that very mindset that they want to win, or at the very least, gain the maximum. And I must say, he had a better exit than Dom Roberts did. As far as coming out of Aqua Minerale, another look down the inside, coming in towards Variante Alta. Once again, just playing with that sim racing wheel, just trying to find the grip on the escape coming out of the very tight chicane. They'll then run down through towards Ravazza 1 and Ravazza 2. Now, the big question, will he send it on Dom Roberts coming in towards the first left-hander? No. Just seems to renege at the very last moment, but keeping Dom Roberts guessing.
Yeah, he's keeping him very honest, isn't he? Dom Roberts will want to be holding on to this 3rd position for his dear life, George. And I think Toth has got to be careful, because mistakes come out of frustration, so he just has to keep calm.
Yeah, and obviously if frustration then ploughs in, you can just see that frustration starting to show. But can he hold it together heading in towards Tamburello? Let's find out. Side by side again this time, but again, this time Dom Roberts cuts him off. And in behind, you can just see Augustin Torlashi licking his lips, just letting them go at it. Just let them fight. If they do so, if they have a crash, P3 falls into my lap.
Exactly. He's not attacking Toth too much, because he knows if the two in front have a bit of a wobble, he benefits 2 positions.
Definitely does that. And now a very desperate move to the inside coming up through Tosa. Very well marshalled again from Dom Roberts. He is defending like a lion out there right now. I mean, this is truly outstanding from the young Carter, who took part in the British Championships back in 2019 and is using that mentality, those karting lines, to prevent David Toth from getting past him, but has that run out here at this stage. They're going to run wheel to wheel through Aqua Minerale. I would never recommend that whatsoever. And quite rightly, David Toth backing out, just did not have the line, but he might have a nice run heading through towards Variante Alta. They'll run wheel to wheel again. This time, has Toth got Roberts' number? He's going to go around the outside of this one, but Toth once again denied, as now Roberts still marshals the defense. And look, this is the moment that Torlashi might have been waiting for. Once again, wheel to wheel between Roberts and Toth as they come downhill. Look at Torlashi in the distance too. Wheel to wheel through towards Rivazza 1. The inside favouring David Toth. He has grafted for it, and he's finally got it. P3 for the Hungarian. I'm sure he'll breathe a sigh of relief, but he can't be relieved for long, because back comes Dom Roberts.
Absolutely. He's like, I'm not giving this up. I'm going to get you back. Let's see how this pans out. This is so exciting, George.
Well, it's a short run now, down towards Tamburello. Here comes Roberts again, having a look around the outside. I think more concerned about Torlashi in 5th place, who I think was hoping to profiteer from the two, perhaps having a moment further up. But look at the queue now forming. We've got Mirko Suriano in 6th place. Attila Buxi has come into this. Degu Hegni, where have these drivers come from? It's started to compress over the battle for 3rd spot, and we're into the final minute of racing here, as now we have Torlashi under pressure from Mirko Suriano, who's up his inside coming through Tosa.
My goodness me, it's all to play for. Under 1 minute to go, George. I don't know how it's going to end.
Well, I can tell you one thing's for sure. Will Chadwick is 2.5 seconds clear up at the front. You can take that to the bank as Augustin Torlashi comes through out of the very fast Piratella section, a trip through Aqua Minerale, then very quickly uphill. David Toth has done magnificently to rip that P3 away. Dom Roberts equally defending magnificently, very nearly could have lost it altogether. They ran wheel to wheel through Aqua Minerale not too long ago, but David Toth quite rightly and smartly chose against it, instead opting for a better move around Rivazza 1 and Rivazza 2, much like Will Chadwick is doing right now. He's 3.3 seconds clear of Francis McGinn. It's going to be a dream double for Will Chadwick. Victory in race 1. He scores with a victory again in race 2. Will Chadwick dominant once again here at Imola. Francis McGinn will cross the line in 2nd. David Toth with a fantastic 3rd place. What do you make of that, Nina?
Absolutely fabulous race. Boy, did they crank it up a notch from race 1. And it's exactly what I expected. I would say William Chadwick is going to... Let me make a prediction. I reckon he's going to win race 3 as well. I'm saying it now.
Well, I mean, you could be right. I mean, at this rate, we could yet see him follow suit with what we saw from Nicholas Rubelar only the short matter of a round or so ago. I mean, of course, that was back in the Americas stint. I tell you what, fans, I hope you all enjoy that wherever you're tuned in around the world. Obviously here for the Ferrari HP Esports series, but that was a phenomenal ending. What a phenomenal P3 scrap. I mean, David Toth, he threw everything at Dom Robertson. He had to, everything but the kitchen sink. Eventually, though, he would profiteer.
I think he even threw the kitchen sink at him, George. Absolutely everything. He left it late in race 1, he left it late in race 2, but he made the moves, and that's the whole point. He's just making slow progress each race. He's doing what he has to do.
He certainly is that. And a sharp reminder for everyone at home as well, if you're enjoying, obviously, all this unfolding, you too can get involved in the action, because we do have the Thrustmaster Community Cup Hot Lap competition underway. Bear in mind, the winner of the Thrustmaster Community Cup Hot Lap competition, when the final date comes around in October, that final winner will be heading to the grand finals in Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi, to join those that are going to qualify from this very regional final. But we do have those that obviously succeeded every week. Bear in mind, we do have a weekly competition in the Thrustmaster Community Cup Hot Lap Challenge, where the winner each week, the standalone Hot Lap winner each week, will receive a Thrustmaster Ferrari 250 GTO wheel add-on. So all the more reason for you to get involved. If you want to sign up, get involved, head to the website and you can add your name to the list and take part in that competition. It's, you know, a fantastic opportunity for everybody concerned, and you never know, you might be joining us at Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. Let's take you through the current championship standings. William Chadwick on top, 50 points now, a nice round number but he'd love to make it 75. Let's wait and see whether he can do that. Francis McGinn in second place with 36. David Toth, after that fantastic effort in that last race to go third place, takes 25 points so far. Augustin Tolashi-Paez on 16, joined with James Armstrong. Osman Aslan Sert on 12 points. Dom Roberts on 12 as well. Mirko Siriano on 9 points, down in 8th place. And then, of course, we'll take a look at P's 9 onwards as well. Here they are. Ryan van der Grip, who unfortunately didn't have necessarily the best of races last time out, 8 points. Attila Buxi on 8 points with him too. Nicholas Deguheni in 11th place with 6 points, and then 2 drivers on 2 points. That's Abid Salem and David Veg, and then Alessandro Porter, Gareth Higgins and Carmelo Martello, all on 0 points. Have a little bit of work to do to close that gap, but we still have another race to bring you folks, that third and final race here in tonight's action in the Ferrari HP Esports Series trip around Imola. And it's our last dance here on iRacing around Imola here in this series as well, at least for now, which is always a shame because this has been a fantastic track to watch the racing unfold. Give us your words of wisdom here, Nina Jade. Tell us, what are your thoughts after the first 2 races?
My words of wisdom, I would say don't make any silly mistakes in this final race. We've seen it happen before. We don't want that. You lose a whole haul of points if you make a mistake and end up at the back. Head down, reset, keep calm, use your experience, use your expertise, and get a good haul of points.
Yeah, well, that's the mission, and that is the end goal. And surely, at the moment, Will Chadwick could be on course to joining Nicholas Rubilar as 2 of the only drivers to have enlisted 3 wins. But of course, you know, it's all well and good saying it now. He's only got 2 so far as Will Chadwick, and we all saw what dangerous moments can do to someone's race. It happened to James Armstrong. You might remember, of course, in our previous race, he was fighting over second place, but it all came to a miserable halt. And of course, it was Dom Roberts who would then swoop in and take P3, and we witnessed that incredible battle between he and David Toth. But we're now getting set ready for race 3. What are your vibes, Nina? What does Will Chadwick need to do? Just continue what he's doing? Can Francis McGinn topple him?
More of the same. I'm actually keeping an eye on David Toth. I reckon he is out for blood. He wants to win. So keep an eye on him.
Yeah, David Toth, definitely one to watch. VCO IndyCar Challenge Championship P4 sitter this year. Also raced in various major GT3 championships and also major single-seater iRacing series, and is a 4-time Hungarian Sim Liga champion, managing to capture his 4th one this year. 4 in succession. Can Toth bite back and stop Will Chadwick taking 3 wins in succession for round 3 alone? It's Chadwick out in front. He is met with Francis McGinn as well on the inside, on the pit lane side of the circuit, as they now trundle up towards the line. The lights will soon go red and then go out, and we'll be racing here at Emilia-Romagna once again. Who's going to come out on top in our 3rd and final race of the night? Lights go red, and it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. Great start from Will Chadwick. David Toth does get a great jump as well. Bursts down through towards Tamburello, and Toth might yet get P2, but it's being covered off by Will Chadwick. That allows Francis McGinn to take the place back. David Toth now under pressure. Dom Roberts, his former nemesis, just locked in behind him here, and they bring in on Attila Buxi and Augustin Torlashi, with Nicholas Deguheni trying to fend off James Armstrong, who sat in P8. Great moves being made here. Abid Salem losing down probably around 3 places there. Ryan van der Grip on the move, up 5 places. And further back, we got some side-by-side. James Armstrong hustling away, trying to break down Nicholas Deguheni.
Absolutely. Will Chadwick didn't get a great start, but he had a good second phase, so he managed to just sort of block off Toth and sort of threw him off, and he's still in 3rd, but I reckon Toth is going to get after him again.
Yeah, he has to. David Toth, if he wants to try and clamber onto the 2nd step of the podium at the very least, needs to topple Francis McGinn, who has been sat in that 2nd place all night long. No one has stopped him. Neither has anyone stopped William Chadwick, but David Toth could be the man to do it as they head in towards the Variante Alta for the first time. Oh, door wide open. David Toth takes it. That's a root canal if I've ever seen one. A fantastic effort from David Toth, and he now chases after William Chadwick.
Oh, he said, thank you very much for that. I didn't really have to work for it, saved my tyres a bit. Now I'm going to go chase the lead.
Yeah, fantastic effort there from David Toth, now ahead of Francis McGinn, who now succumbs and loses out on that second place that he's been holding all night. Now he's in third and trying to fend off Dom Roberts, who I'm sure will have no qualms into trying to knock him down a peg or two. Attila Buxi also coming into this, looking to run side by side here with Dom Roberts alike, and Buxi might have the upper hand in this fight. Has got the inside line. Yeah, might take it in totality. Two blue 296s running tandem. Oh, we've lost one. Oh, that's Torlashi. The Argentinian is around, coming through Tamburello. Of course, he may be experienced as far as rally is concerned, but that gravel is not going to be a welcome sight.
Oh, this is what I mean by costly mistakes, Jules. Put 1 foot wrong and you're at the back of the grid. That's such a shame for him.
It certainly is. Dom Roberts still, though, it's not over. He's chasing after James Armstrong, who finally has an instant go his way for a change. Has now managed to find his way past Dom Roberts and is now chasing after Buxi over fourth, as we're now watching them come up the hill through towards Piratella. Degu Hegney moving up to 7th. He's been consistent all night long, just quietly chipping away and getting those points. And he will be obviously tasked, though, however, to try and pick up the big points when we head to Summit Point later on this year, of course, when we venture there in October. They come out of Aqua Minerale. It's still Will Chadwick up at the front. David Toth still trying to pursue, and that gap stretching to very nearly a second. Will Chadwick in rude form, rude health here at this stage. Dorian Lelivre, who's currently sat in that single points paying position in P10, trying to move up on fellow Frenchman Michael Boucher, as they now storm down the hill through towards the double left-hander at the Ravazza section. You can see there Ryan van der Grip. Now he's going to be a tricky driver to keep behind, because we saw him in the first race. He's not going to lie down. He's not going to quit lying down whatsoever. He's right in the wheel tracks here of Lelivre. So Dorian's got to have his wits about him here. Otherwise, Van der Grip could turn on the style and turn on the grip as he makes his way down towards turn one. David Toth sets the fastest lap so far.
Absolutely, he's definitely one to watch. Also, hats off to Armstrong, up in 5th, up 5 places after his incident in the previous race. So I bet he can smell the podium positions.
Well, I can tell you, Ryan van der Grip can smell P10. He's just taking it away from Dorian Lelivre. So the Frenchman now down to 11th. It's all starting to condense in the top 10 ever so slightly. There is quite a train that James Armstrong is taking to the back of Attila Buxi, who holds on to 4th, the TCR driver, who is trying to keep Armstrong in behind. It's going to find it very tricky because Buxi is sacrificing all kinds of slipstream. He's finding himself 2 seconds off the back of Francis McGinn, who, whilst losing P2, is now looking to come back at David Toth because he's trying to close that 1 second gap. If anything, though, it's going outwards. So McGinn has got to try harder to close down on David Toth.
Absolutely, he needs a couple of quali laps, I reckon. But he doesn't want to burn his tyres out too much, so also just bide your time a little bit. Sometimes the race will come to you.
Certainly could do. See, James Armstrong's fed up of waiting. He is on the attack straight away. Had a look up the outside, heading in towards... Oh, Toth! What's happened there? I think Toth is at a moment because Francis McGinn has moved back up into second. They're going to run side by side, I think, down towards Ravazza. And yes, David Toth losing out to Francis McGinn, who now retakes that P2 that he lost not too long ago.
I bet Francis McGinn is absolutely cheesing inside that car of his. I don't know what happened to Toth. He must have had a bit of a moment, but this is what I mean about keeping your head. You can't let your head have a wobble. You've got to keep concentration.
Oh, slow down. There's a driver slowing down. That's David Toth. Toth being tasked to slow down. So whether that's a track limit violation that he's been asked to forego some places and some time, I'm not sure. But it's automatically pushed Attila Buxi into the top 3. Armstrong went side by side with Buxi in a battle over that 3rd place, but he's up to 4th anyway, thanks to Toth slowing down.
Oh, George, Toth is going to be absolutely fuming about that. I'm not sure what he's done, but I don't mind. I'm not counting him out. I'm sure he'll make his way up.
Yeah, no doubt. Of course, we've seen his pace. He is capable, very capable. Chadwick still out and ahead by 2.6 seconds. He's got Francis McGinn just in behind in 2nd place. Ryan de Grip in 8th as well. And we can confirm that there was a slowdown after, heading the way of David Toth after a moment, I think, breaching track limits or an incident at the, actually the Variante Alta chicane, which means that he had to sacrifice all that speed, all that delta, and it allowed Francis McGinn to take 2nd place, and as a result also moving Attila Buxi, James Armstrong, up a place as well alike, as now once again Armstrong, a carbon copy of before, having a look around the outside of Attila Buxi. Obviously, it's never going to be a move that comes off that one, but I think just trying to, you know, almost send maybe an evasive move towards Buxi. Not necessarily evasive, but an attacking move, just to maybe make Buxi think a little bit. But like we said, he is a TCR series driver, and he'll be well aware of those little mind games that are afoot, and the young 17-year-old has done fantastically to keep him in behind. As we now watch them stretch down through towards Tamburello once more. There's the view from the cockpits as we now watch James Armstrong and Attila Buxi stretch down through towards Tamburello. This time around though, Buxi able to fend him off. Armstrong breaking in and out of the aero as they come through Tamburello this time, but Armstrong looking for that better line on the escape. Coming out of Tamburello, he's swapping lines, instead doing the opposite of what Attila Buxi is doing. It hasn't come off on the run in towards Villeneuve. This wouldn't be a place for Armstrong to make the move anyway, but they're going to come in towards Tosa at the left-hander. They'll very soon march uphill, and look at this, this is it, this is the move. Armstrong, fantastic effort, manages to weave one way, then the other, forcing Attila Buxi to pick a side, pick a line, and he actually sent him the wrong way. Armstrong managing to move up into third, and look at this as well, David Toth coming back into this scrap.
Absolutely brilliant driving from all of them. Armstrong will be very happy. Remember, this is a recovery drive for him somewhat, so he's back into the podium position, so now we can go and hunt down McGinn. Yeah,
he certainly can do that. 3.9 seconds separate them. We're coming in now, we're over the halfway point in this race. Remember, 15 minutes in a single race here in the Ferrari HP Esports Series Championship. These are the regional finals. We've got already some moves from Dom Roberts as well, who's managed to move ahead of Degu Hegney, and Ryan van der Grip as well, who's trying to get into this. David Toth now moving ahead of Attila Buxi. In fact, Buxi has lost 2 places because Dom Roberts has gone ahead. There's Ryan van der Grip, who is now looking to try and move up ahead of Bachmann, and or should I say ahead of Buxi. Buxi has lost a fleet of places, and Ryan van der Grip out of Rivazza 2 has now managed to storm into P6.
Brilliant, brilliant. Goodness me, Buxi had a bit of a mare. He was running in 3rd position at one point, and now he's down in 6th. No, 7th, sorry.
Yeah, he's lost a fleet of places, and that is 4 places that he's lost. Remember, sat in that podium place, sat in 3rd, and now it's James Armstrong who sits there this time around. It's the same, well, it's a familiar front 3, put it that way. Nicolas Degu-Hegney currently sat in 10th as well. He's got fellow Frenchman Boucher, Michael Boucher sat in front as they now fly through the Villeneuve section, the Villeneuve chicane, out on track. Degu-Hegney might yet get a chance though in his own right, looks to try and get past fellow countryman Michael Boucher. Might yet get a chance to do it here, running out very wide as well was Boucher, and that's going to allow Degu-Hegney to move through calmly and coolly up into P9.
Lovely driving, and the midfield is so very, very close, George. And remember, it is the final race of today, so there is a lot to play for. People are trying to get those points.
They certainly are. David Toth getting closer as well to the back of James Armstrong. So this battle for 3rd place is far from over. Oh, wow, that's a rejoin. Goodness me, that's Buxi again. Attila Buxi forfeiting yet another 2, 3, 4 places. And that was a very, very sceptical rejoin, it has to be said, from Attila Buxi. Very nearly came back out on Acqua Minerale in front of a fleet of cars being led by Michael Boucher and Dorian Lelivre, who thankfully did not find themselves in the back of Buxi's Ferrari 296. But Buxi and all, yeah, but he's gone from 3rd now, outside of the top 10. That's painful for Buxi.
And that rejoin, the stewards might be having a look at that one, so there might be more pain to come for him, George.
Well, he might end up with a slowdown like David Toth had.
Exactly.
Now, what could that do? Obviously now, as we watch the drivers hustle down through towards Tamburello again, there is Osman Sert trying to chase after Abid Salem. They're going to go wheel to wheel, heading down in towards Tamburello. Sert just too good in this one. Osman Aslan Sert now sitting in 11th place. And he's now going to chase after Dorian Lelivre. A point is not out of the question for Sert because he's only 6.5 tenths away from Lelivre in 10th.
Exactly, and he doesn't know what dramas is going to happen ahead of him as well. So the point is to stay there, put the pressure on, overtake if you can, and, you know, see what comes your way. Absolutely right indeed. They now fly up the hill out of Tosa, and then they'll take the run up through towards the Piratella left-hander. Will Chadwick still consolidating a lead that could yet convert to a triple crown, following suit from what we saw from Nicolas Rubelar in the Americas action that we saw not too long ago. Obviously opening up the regional finals of the
Ferrari HP Esports Series. Ryan van der Grip in 6th spot and chasing after Dom Roberts in a battle for 5th. And that's only 4:10, so could yet get some slipstream off the back of Roberts. And there is a move in the offing here. We know how tenacious Ryan van der Grip really is where it comes to racing. No doubt he'll find the Delta. Another driver who can find Delta is David Toth, because he's right in the wheel tracks of one James Armstrong.
Goodness me, he loves racing. He's a proper racer, isn't he, Toth? He's putting pressure on. This is where he excels, I think. And you know, it's getting late in the race as well. He might make a late move too.
Well, you can't keep the Hungarian down. He's hungry and hungry for more. He's just set a personal best and he's chasing after Armstrong. He was 4/10 faster than Armstrong in that last lap in itself. But Armstrong doing absolutely everything and anything to keep him behind. He doesn't want to forfeit this 3rd place.
Absolutely not. He's worked hard, gets back up to 3rd place as well as has Armstrong. So I think he's going to try absolutely everything to try and stay there.
Yeah, this could be a huge one because, of course, the results here could pay dividends come the very end of the regional finals. Remember, the top 2 will go through to the Ferrari HP Esports Series Grand Final when we move onwards to Ferrari World Yas Island in Abu Dhabi. No better setting for a grand finale than that location, and no doubt the best in the world will be looking to take it. And a little note on this, Ryan van der Grip, 12 places gained, Nina, since the start of this race.
Amazing. I mean, you did say he had grip, George, so he's definitely showing it.
Well, grip by name, grip by very nature, and has managed to position himself into P6 off the back of a mighty charge back to the front end. Of course, he was brilliant in the opening race, just unfortunately it fell apart in race 2, and that's what led to him being so far down at the very start. Of course, he began down in 19th position and is now in 6th. That is a phenomenal recoup of places, and he's now on the cusp of scoring big points. 8 points should he finish here, and you never know, if he gets 5th, he could be scoring 10.
Exactly, and this is the point, to keep your head down and to stay in it. I reckon he's going to nick 5th place here.
He's got every chance. Dom Roberts is the only car that stands in between he and an additional 2 points. And you never know, this might be the time for Ryan van der Grip to turn on the style once more. But Dom Roberts, once again, providing that defensive line, the same line that prevented David Toth not too long ago from making a move on him over that battle for 3rd place. Of course, eventually it would all come unstuck. But this time, it's Ryan van der Grip who's got to try and wear Dom Roberts down.
Exactly. If there's anyone that can do just defensive driving, it is Roberts. So van der Grip needs to pull everything out of the bag. The kitchen sink, as you would say, George.
Yeah, well, let's see if he has got a kitchen sink to throw as he now charges up the hill through towards the Piratella. Fast and fleeting, this portion of circuit. We're coming into the final dying moments of the race. Will Chadwick very soon will be crossing the line for the final time. It's the final 30 seconds, very nearly the final 20. As they come up through Aqua Minerale, so Ryan van der Grip's time is running out if he wants to notch his name into 5th. And Dorian Lelivre has had an incident, I think, because he's dropped out and he's out of the race. Dorian Lelivre on the final closing stages of this very lap has unfortunately seen himself bow out, and he's not alone because Beglin has gone too. But what a sensational opening night for William Chadwick in the Ferrari HP Esports Series. He's not just 1 time, not just 2 time, he's 3 times a race winner here at Emilia-Romagna. It's William Chadwick who scores a sensational 3rd win here tonight alone. And he's got Francis McGinn in 2nd place in behind. James Armstrong, redemption from race 2, finishes in 3rd. David Toth in 4th. Wheel to wheel between Ryan van der Grip and Dom Roberts, who defends the 5th place. David Toth, as we said, in 4th. Further down then, we have Bachmann finishing in 7th. Degu Hegney in 8th place. Buxy in 9th. And Barber rolls out. Mike Barber closes out the top 10. What a performance from William Chadwick there, Nina.
Total domination from Chadwick, George. And he sent a message to Rubler, actually. Very, very similar. He said, I'm coming for you.
Well, it was a truly stupendous effort. Finally managing to close it out in grandiose style as we pan across the circuit of Emilia-Romagna. Maximum points go in the way of William Chadwick, albeit for now, of course, don't forget Stewart's decisions are final in this series. We saw what it did, obviously, to Cody Deeth in the Asia-Pacific regions. I don't think, though, necessarily, not from what we could see anyway, I don't think William Chadwick is going to be in any danger.
Well, to be honest, George, we didn't see much of him. He didn't get much airtime at all. He was just off into the sunset. So who knows?
That's very true. That is very true. Absolutely right. He, of course, had very little airtime, but that just makes the performance all the more overwhelming, does it not? Because, of course, he was not swamped around by any drivers, consistently leading and coasting home with 3 to 4 seconds to boot. Let's take you through the standings as we close out tonight's action at Imola. William Chadwick sits at the top of the tree in the European region ahead of Francis McGinn. 75 points for Chadwick, 54 points for McGinn. 37 points going to David Toth. He had a very good close out to race 2. He closed it out strongly as well in race 3 with a 4th place, 37. James Armstrong finishing the day on 31 points in 4th spot. Dom Roberts finishing in 5th in 22 points. We then have Augustin Torlashi Paez on 16 points, joined with Ryan van der Grip, who brought home some vital points as well at the end of that last race. Osman Aslan Sert on 12 points. He now sits in 8th place. 9th place for Nicholas Deguhegni with 10 points. Got Attila Buxi as well in 10th place, also joined with 10 points. Mirko Siriano in 11th, just drops out the top 10 on 9 points. Andreas Bachmann in 12th. Abid Salem in 13th, joined on 2 points by David Veg, the Hungarian, with Mike Barber on 1 solitary point, sat in 15th, and Alessandro Porta and the rest of the grid on 0 points. But it has to be said, what a stupendous effort from William Chadwick. Puts himself right in the top of the tree. And, of course, heading to Summit Point, that is a very good place to be, because whilst obviously it's a different circuit, it's all about that mentality heading in to the next few rounds.
Absolutely. It will just give him so much confidence to continue as he's going to go on. So I think it's great for him. And if, even though, you know, Toth came 3rd in the end, he's got a good haul of points. McGinn, good haul of points. Armstrong, good recovery drive. All these things will give them confidence into the next 3 races.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. I mean, it's all a confidence test. Obviously, drivers working at the peak of their confidence, it makes a difference to their performances. We will, of course, be speaking as well to Will Chadwick now very shortly. He is, in fact, joining us here in the commentary box. One William Chadwick. We meet again, sir. What a sensational performance. A triple crown here tonight. 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, not too bad. I'm glad you meet me actually performing all right this time, George. And yeah, no, it was a good evening. The races went well. I was able to get a lap in qualifying. A lot of people struggled under pressure, I think, with the pace, because yeah, and the races were tough, but you know, as soon as I was able to get clear, it was good, and I was just focused on doing the best race I can.
It's been a good year for you, it has to be said. I mean, we looked at the Nürburgring 24-hour. You took victory there not too long ago, earlier this year, and some other decent victories as well in other championships. I mean, coming in tonight here at Ferrari HP Esports Series, you know, it's a big event, and of course, it all leads up through towards Ferrari World Yas Island Abu Dhabi. Does that mean a lot as to a driver or a sim racer's CV?
Yeah, I mean, we'll compete. Well, I'm fortunate to compete in the European region. I think it's one of the strongest that we have, and yeah, I just focused on doing the best performance I can. Really, like you say, I've had a fairly decent year. You know, I'm unattached to any team, so for what I've been able to do, really throughout the year, it's been pretty good, and it's nice to jump back on iRacing and do some GT3 stuff, because a lot of my iRacing races have been Porsche Cup for the last 2 years. So it's nice to perform and do a good race in GT3.
Yeah, I mean, just talk to us about the Ferrari 296 GT3 and what it's like to drive, because its speeds are a second to none. Obviously, we know how good the Ferrari is in a straight line, but also since moving to the V6 engine, more fuel efficient, perhaps largely also aerodynamically better in the corners as well. Can you correspond with that?
Yeah, it's by far the best aerodynamic car in the GT3 class. It's really, really on the nose at high speed, something very, very different to anything I drive normally. And I think when you compare it to the older generation car, it has a lot of torque. So the V6 provides greater ability to use maybe a higher gear in some corners, which stop you from needing to shift, and just generally, it's a very good engine for racing, and yeah, it's a great car to drive in the sim as well.
Definitely is. Now, what do these results mean for the rest of the championships? We move from Imola next to Summit Point. We are effectively at the halfway point as far as your regional finals are concerned. What are your thoughts as we head to a vastly different track like Summit Point?
Yeah, Summit Point's an interesting selection. It's a track that I don't think gets used much on the iRacing service, not nearly as much as as Imola gets used. So it'd be interesting to see what the pace is like there. I'm fairly confident going forward into that. You know, it's nice to have the pressure a little bit off, because getting 3 wins with people kind of, obviously Frances did really well, and I think Frances outperformed what people expected. I don't think he was expected to finish second in all these races today, so he's obviously got a good points tally as well. But I think generally it gives me a really good points haul going into the second half of the season with the 3 races at Summit Point, where the pressure's off me, and really it's more for everyone else to perform, which will only allow me to perform even better than I did today.
Well, we'll see if the magical run can continue. William Chadwick, thank you for joining us here in the commentary box. We wish you all the very best, and congratulations once again.
Thank you.
So that's William Chadwick, everybody. Nino, you spoke with such confidence and such authority as well, and I think for good reason. I think if you close out your day with 3 wins, you have every reason to be confident. Summit Point, you alluded to the fact that not many drivers really race on it, so it could be a few mysteries out there when we head there in October.
Absolutely. I think it's going to cause a lot of action, a lot of chaos, especially if it's not a track that's used very often. That means people don't know very well. There's going to be more hours put in the practicing, so people have to work to really get up to speed with that one.
Well, no doubt they'll be looking to put the hours in the practice areas as well, trying to get prepared, ready for Summit Point. But of course, we are going to be saying goodbye to Imola, at least for now, as far as the championship's concerned. A few, you know, favourable faces. I think we haven't really seen the best, I think, of a few drivers already. I would say David Toth, I think his results and his performances didn't generally correspond. I think had he had a little bit more luck on his side, we could have seen David Toth up in the podium places a little bit more today.
Absolutely. He showed the aggression, he showed the heart, and he showed the determination. So I feel like if he has a good showing at Summit Point, he could really be up there.
And we haven't seen the best of James Armstrong, I don't think.
Absolutely. What a brilliant recovery drive. Can we just say, this third race, he made up 7 places. Hats off to him.
Magnificent. And it's so difficult around a track like Imola. We allude to the roller coaster track, so narrow, but somehow James Armstrong finding those places. But the most places gained were by Ryan van der Grit. But we get to do it all again, folks, when we head very soon to Summit Point. But first and foremost, we got a fantastic calendar still to come. Be sure to stay tuned with everything around the Ferrari HP Esports series. But from me, George, and of course Nina as well, we'll see you next time. Goodbye.